Hey you guys, it's Kimmy with Coast DIY, and I am coming to you in a video. Sorry it's not a live, but I thought this might be the easiest way to walk you through a couple of tips and tricks on the spooky village. I'm going to walk you through the spooky village first. So let's start with just a couple of show and tells on each of the pieces, and then I'm going to jump right into some tips and tricks. Okay. So this one might be the one that makes me laugh the most. So this one is the full moon night care. So think about it. You're in the spooky village. Nobody needs daycare. Everybody's sleeping in the middle of the day. So of course you need night care. So this is your full moon night care. And we have our werewolf. This is the worst lighting. There we go, that's better. Anyway, this is our werewolf that is our teacher of the night, and he is teaching a howling class. He's just popped out of his human form because he's still wearing his jeans, and he's ready to teach the howling class. And look, we've already got a little howler practicing out here in the pen for all the little pups, right? How cute is that? And then right out back, we've got this little baby with a little pacifier. This says night care. So cute. This one made me laugh. So, full moon night care. That's number one. Let's see if I can find space for all these. Okay. Number two. Oh man, I didn't bring the zombie. You have to look at the photos. So this is Poison, the nightclub. Hence the disco ball in the eyeball. Poison is the nightclub for zombies, and there is a zombie gnome. And these were all in my secretary. They've been in my secretary ever since I've designed them. I've not taken them out. I went and grabbed them all, and I did not get the gnome. So sorry about that. So you have your poison apple. This is your poison nightclub with your little door in the front. And of course your disco ball right in the eye of the skull. And I painted it in like, it's looking a little red on the phone screen, but it's actually kind of a purple, burgundy purple. I did black on the inside. This is bright lime green, almost yellow, and I did black. And then on the back, you're going to get your poison appletini. And when you see the zombie's drinking a poison appletini. So that's kind of the fun part. So your poison, this is, it'll stand up. My cardboard's not the best, but you have your little sign. So you also, in addition to these two items, you're going to get your zombie gnome with his appletini, poison appletini. And then there's a little sidewalk sign that gives you a little information about the signature drink, the poison appletini. So you get both of those items too, and you'll see those when you order. So that's your poison nightclub, because everybody needs a place to go when they go out at night. Okay, this one, I have two people in my life that are on dialysis. This is the first one I designed. No, this is the second one I designed. This one makes me giggle every time. So think about it. Who better to draw your blood than a vampire that can smell it from a mile away, right? So on one side, we have Vlad's dialysis center, right? And who's drawing the blood at Vlad's? The bats. Of course they are. And they're perfect at it, right? But what else are they doing? They're drawing a little extra also. And they're giving it away to the other vampires at the blood bank, right? This says open for withdrawal. Open for withdrawals. So we've got all the bats up here in the top of the bat wing. Yeah, I know. I cracked myself up anyway. We've got Vlad right here on the top. And then this is a 3D, look, 3D design. So when you build this, this is gonna slide down on the top, fit right in, and then there are two little, can you see them? See this right here? It's just a little accent, there you go. Just a little accent to help solidify. You really don't need it, but just to help solidify where that's gonna sit. So you'll glue that on to be more stable. And then you've got these fences. So it's got a lot of dimension. Super fun. So Vlad's dialysis center. That makes me giggle. Okay, so then we have Agatha's Academy. And Agatha's comes with, I'm not going to be able to reach it. I brought it, but there's a little directional sign that has all the little directions for all the little witches to go to all their classes and where they're going to go, potions and different things like that. And then there's a little bench with a little witch hat on it, just a little extra something. And then you have Agatha's, and she comes with, you get all of these little boards so you can board up the windows. The walls come engraved with ivy. So a little bit of dimension already. And then this is what I call the Spooky Village roof. I designed this roof by hand, every little line. I was actually visiting the aunt in Idaho when I did this, just sitting there working on this roof. And I'll kind of give you some tips on how to paint that. And then there's a bat in the belfry. There you go, that's better. And there's a little, it's not a fence. What is that? Fence. We're going to call it a fence right now. So there's a bat up in the belfry. And then on the back, this is a modern school. So we've got two cats sitting in the window. And then we have our broom charging station. And this actually comes out. Oh, I lost the... See, I was rough with them. You could glue these in. I did not. This comes out. Well, I was rough with it. But the broom, as you can see, well, apparently I glued that on. There's another one of these little hook things that goes right there that fell out between my secretary and this table. So I'll get that. You get some pumpkins just for some decor. And again, the details of the ivy and stuff on the back. And the extra little roof line there for some detail. So Agatha's Academy. And then you have, every little witch needs to go and have a little creative workshop to make her own cauldron at the Creative Cauldron. So this is my nod to the, Coast DIY. So the whole thing is a cauldron. And then you've got your little door that's got, 2 steps on it as you walk in. Your little window with all your little options to make. Your toxic cauldron. And then on the back is your kiln and your fire. And I recognize, but magically the fire heats the kiln beside it. It's magic because it's witches. And then you've got a couple of shelves and a kiln and all of your little cauldrons, aka pots, that's set aside. So that one's a fun one. And then we have, this is the one I'm gonna actually redo tonight, and I'll walk you through tips and tricks. So, oh, I know what I forgot, but I'll walk you through it now. So Frankenstein's Laboratory Supplies and Hardware. Yes. So comes with a stand that I knocked out. Let me get that in there. There we go. And so on the front, you have your door, your sign, your 2 windows. And in the windows, you've got your little cloche with the brain in it, because that's where you can buy your brains when you're making your monsters. And then if you can see in there, there's nuts, bolts, for your little Frankie monsters, right? Bolts in that little jar with a little light. And then look who's up in the little window up top. He's up top. And then I added a little extra something special to the roof lines for this design because I thought, oh, that needed a little something special. And then on the back, it's just fun. You can see all your laboratory little supplies. So you got beakers and bottles and different kinds of things on the back. So that's a fun one. Now this design, there's a thing that pairs with this that you can order separately, that you can get Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein. You can get the Bride of Frankenstein. It comes with Frankie laying on a laboratory table, kind of laying back. You have to look at the photo. And then there's all these little pieces of laboratory supplies and stuff like that that would look really cute kind of displayed around this, but it also would work on its own. So that's an option. So you can get those, and I don't know why I didn't grab those either. And now comes the big one. The Eternal Rest, a ghostly getaway. Everybody needs, at the end of their life, when they become a ghost, a bed and breakfast. It's gigantic. Do you see it's bigger than my head? So this is a big piece. It is not for the faint of heart. And I wanted to show you guys, I just really had a ball trying to design this. I could glue this on, and I would suggest, I don't know. I might not suggest gluing it on because look, this has been here for months since I designed this. It'll stay right there. And if you want to store this, all of this will come apart because I haven't glued it into the stand. So you guys decide that. There'll be a separate video showing you how to build the staircase because that is a to-do. But let's just talk about the general design. This is your ghostly getaway. I keep touching the stairwell. So everything is boarded off because you're ghosts. You're going to fly in anyway. You don't need to walk through really. You've got ghosts everywhere. You've got your crooked little tree with the owl. You've got your pumpkins, your gravestones, some bats. We've got the honeymoon suite up here. And it's got a pipe because you could just fly up to it from the inside, of course. We've got a little ghost with his boarded off window. Got our little sign. This is a spider web with a spider that hangs from the pipe. There you go. You can see that better. And then on the back, more gravestones. You've got a little fence. You got a black cat. I think there's a couple black cats in the kit when you get it. Bunches of ghosts, lots of pumpkins, lots of bats. There's also a separate mausoleum called the Creepy Cottage. And it's got its own little sign. So the concept there was, it's like its own little separate getaway from the getaway. So it's a little mausoleum to go with your gigantor ghostly bed and breakfast. It's huge. Huge. It's really heavy too. So just be prepared. It's really fun to make though. Super fun to make. And then if you order online, you can order them all. And if you order them all, which I've had a few people do already, you get an add-on kit that includes the big moon. You get some street signs. You get some extra gravestones. You get a street light. There's another tree that's got, I'm trying to think of what's in that tree. There's a creepy tree. And a couple other little decor items that come in that kit. So that comes with it. And you get a full stain kit, spooky stain kit. So that's an option. But let's jump right into it. So I'm going to actually paint Frankenstein's lab with the spooky colors from the spooky stain kit. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk you through just some tips and tricks on how to deal with the scoring and the engraving and a couple of little things to help. I'll be using these brushes that you can order. You can pick them up at the Painted Tree. You can order them online. They're part of the party pack. So I just want you to know, I don't use, you guys know me, I don't use anything fancy to do my stuff. I actually really like these brushes a lot. All right, so let's start with, the main piece. So your main piece is just this. And I know this seems crazy, but it is literally, so let's kind of, we'll go back and forth, right? So see how it's all plain? And you'll have a photo when you get your kit, it'll have a photo of this version of it. So all I really need to worry about painting really is this part, right? I am gonna do it in white stain because I like that the colors of the bottles and things can pop off of that. I just have a plate. And I have all the spooky colors, which we'll go through. So the spooky colors are white, orange, lime. They do not come in bottles this size. They're 10 ounces. They look like in that little photo right there, if you've gotten them before. So white, orange, lime, violet, crimson, lemon, cherry blossom, which is kind of like a lighter purple, classic gray, mahogany, which is a brown, and black. So it's a good Halloween set, I think. I think personally, yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the concept of white. So let's talk about white stain. I'm just gonna put a little bit on my plate. White stain is not white paint. If you're more comfortable with white paint, you could paint this with white paint. I think that would be perfect. If I had white paint in here, I might do that, but I don't. So we're just gonna use the stain. And what I am gonna do, normally I would say to you, wet your brush a lot. I like to let the stain be very wet and let it kind of spread out a lot. White is a little bit harder to do that with, so I'm gonna go with a wet brush, but I'm gonna dab it off a little bit. So instead of it being soaking wet, I'm just gonna do a quick dab, okay? I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. And then just gonna paint. Now, with stain, you're never gonna get the coverage that you do with paint. It's not paint, it is stain. But you can build it. So you can choose to put on a coat, let it dry, and then put on a second coat, which I'll do. I got a tickle. What I am gonna do is exactly that. What I like about stain when I use white is that because the laser leaves a burn, because I don't mask on purpose, what happens is that burn will bleed through the stain. And in the case of a spooky village, that's kind of nice because it's kind of dirty. And that's kind of what we want. So let me just show you. So it is not very dark, right? Super light. And I'm gonna let that dry. We're gonna come back to this piece a few times in between pieces as we get this finished. Okay. Now I'm gonna jump right into the roofs. And on this one, I did gray. And I did a couple colors. And at the time when I was doing this, I had not picked the Spooky Village palette yet. So it may look a little different. And that's part of why I'm doing this, so that we know what that looks like. I like the idea of gray, but you know what I'm gonna try? I think I'm gonna try a cherry blossom, which is like a lighter purple. I'm gonna try a cherry blossom roof, just for fun. Give you guys some options. Now, I've put this much out. I'm gonna do a very wet brush. Sorry, I'm gonna push the camera down. So it's actually dripping a little bit. That's how wet it is. Can you see how wet that is? I don't want any like dry, like wet, dry spots. I want it all to be kind of evenly wet on my brush. And then I'm just gonna go for it. Now, when you do stain, the second you touch your board, it's gonna start soaking into the wood. That's what stain does, it goes in. Paint sits on top, okay? The reason I like stain with these is because of the scoring. You do not have to worry about the scoring at all. The stain will soak into the scored lines and you do not have to worry about it too much. Now, if you use white, sometimes it can, if you don't water it down enough, it can turn the line white. That can happen. But a color like this purple, I'm not gonna worry about, so you can watch. I'm gonna go right in and move a little bit fast. And I keep going back over it and I'm wetting my brush again to make sure it stays very wet. And the reason I keep moving all over the place like this is to make sure I'm not leaving any very specific lines. I mean, there's lines all over the roof, obviously. So I don't know that it would be too bad. But now again, the burn, and I'll get a close-up of that, the burn is really showing through nicely on the roof. And it looks, I think it looks nice with this purple. Now, if you wanted to, you could wipe off your stain. You could put it on and wipe it off like you kind of would if you're doing furniture, that sort of application. It depends on how dark you want it. I've done that before, but I really want the purple to be purple. So I'm actually not gonna wipe off. I am continuing to wipe stain on until I feel like the color is even. I am going to show you one thing that's happening, and you know what? This is wood, it's plywood. Things happen. Actually, you really can't see it too bad there. See how there's like this weird looking line right there? You know, that's just wood. See, it's a little, you can kind of see it. That's not in my design. And that's okay. And if you see, look real close. See how that's a little brown on the edge? That's the burn. And I love that. And to me, that looks like a natural shadow, naturally dirty, perfect for Spooky Village. Yeah, I like the purple roof. Look at that. I'm not hating the white, even with that just really dirty edge on the edge. I don't hate that at all. While my brush, though, is very purple, that is one tip while I'm thinking about it. I try to do all my black colored things last because it will dirty my water. I'm a little worried about the purple and the white, but we'll see how that goes. But while my brush is really purple, I'm going to go ahead and do this other roof that's on the back. All the designs are two-sided, so don't forget that. And when you're looking at your design, kind of before you get, I know the design because I designed them, but get familiar with all the little pieces because some of them will require painting on both sides and some won't. So like this roof, I won't have to paint the back because you won't see it. So this color is Cherry Blossom, and I really like it. It's a new stain color that I went and got specifically for Halloween. Because I like the violet that we had before. It's a dark purple. I'll use it on something to show you. But, I don't know. You don't always want like a really dark purple. Sometimes you need something a little lighter. And sometimes the violet can be very dark and you might not see all the detail in the roof. And so I choose the stain colors purposely. Now, let's say you don't have stain. Let's say you have paint. That is totally fine. Paint, what I would make sure you do before you do your paint is make sure you have like a straight pen, safety pen, something like that. And I would not do a wet application. I know it seems like you should, but don't, because your paint's gonna be a color that sits on top. So if it gets in your lines, it's gonna sit in the line, right? So when you paint versus stain, stain is gonna go into the groove, but then it's gonna soak in the groove and kind of go away. Paint is gonna go in the groove and sit. So do a drier application, go very, very lightly, take your time. You can do 3 coats very lightly. I'd rather you do that than 1 heavy coat and it fill up all the lines, okay? So super light coat, be careful with it. And then if you get anything in the lines, no biggie, you've got your straight pen with you or your safety pen or needle, careful, needle, and just scrape out the lines while it's still wet. Okay, that's the trick. You're gonna wanna do that. Okay. Love them. Okay, I'm gonna see how purpley my water is. No, I think I'm good. I'm gonna do another coat of white. I think I watered it down a little much, this coat, but that's okay because I think I showed you I really was almost okay with that first coat. It's not really white, but that's okay. And again, if you're not liking the look of the white stain is, you know, I would say of all the stains, it is the one that is most questionable in its coverage sometimes. Don't hesitate. Jump in, grab some white paint, put a good coat of paint on it. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry again. Now, I think I'm gonna jump to the Frankenstein sign. And on this one, I had, you know what? I did gray and then I added some purple. I was kind of all over the place with this one, to be honest with you. I think I'm gonna try to do mahogany. And I'm gonna do a trick that I've not actually done with this color brown before. Maybe I should see if I could test it on something else. I do have this little, no, no, we're just gonna go in. I'm gonna use a different brush. So I'm getting kind of a flatter brush because what I'm gonna wanna do is get into my grooves. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get my brush wet. I'm gonna dip into my mahogany and I'm gonna put this all over this thing, into the grooves, into the engraving, all over the whole thing. real good coverage. I'm gonna let it set for just a second, and then I'm gonna wipe the top off. So what I hope we'll get is a darker engraved portion and a lighter top portion. That's my goal. Now, if you're doing paint, what you can do is you can just do a dry brush across the top. Okay. The good thing about engraving is you get a lot of look without a lot of effort. Okay, really wet brush going right in. So the good thing about mahogany is a brown, and why I chose it for this palette is it has kind of a purple undertone, and it felt very Halloween-y. Notice I continue to dip in to the water. I'm not really swirling, I'm just getting more water because I want it to stay very, very wet. I want all of that stain to really get into all the nooks and crannies without a lot of effort. Okay, so can you see? Super wet. Letting it do its thing. Okay, and then just take a clean piece of paper towel. And I'm not going to go into the grooves too much. I'm just going to do a flat wipe. Love it. Look how easy that was. Oh. Now it's still wet in the grooves. See that? So I'm just going to set it flat, and it'll continue to soak in, and I'm going to let it do its thing. Let it dry. Oh, while I'm at it, the window on the back, I'm going to do the same thing on that sign and the window frame. Why, you ask, did I not put the whole window frame as one piece? Yeah, I don't know. It's a DIY. I want you to DIY. Okay, I'm going in for the sign. I really, mahogany has been a color that I've had for a long time. And I've not been a huge fan of until Halloween. It really does look nice with these colors. I like it a lot with these colors. So I'm just doing a quick wet application. And it can be kind of messy, for lack of a better term. It's a spooky village. Nothing has to be super neat in this village. All right, I put that back in the water, and then I'm gonna go for the sign first. So this is before. And then I'm gonna try to go flat. After. I love that. I like the look of that a brown stain gets on the engraved. Love it. And then I am going to do just a quick. So I did this on purpose. See how I dripped some darker, less wet and it's left some darker spots. That's what I was talking about when I was saying you could go a little heavier, be a little messy. Yep. Okay, I'll let these dry. All right. Now what? Let's do the little roofs. So we've got purple roofs for the big roofs, and then the little roofs, I think gray. I think I'll do gray so they'll stand out against the purple. Gray or brown? I'm trying to make it look a little different than the other one. Hold on. I'm gonna do brown, just to be different. I'm gonna get that same brush. It's still wet. I'm gonna do the same technique, same exact technique. I'm gonna let them get super wet and then wipe them off so they won't be too dark. And I'm gonna do one at a time because I think the stain's gonna go pretty fast. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, that's not evenly covered. For this technique that you're going to wipe off, just, you know, you don't want to waste your stain if you're using it, but just go ahead and put it on. Okay, roofs done. So now let's do the, where's the other one? Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. These are the, awning is not the right word, but the thing that sticks out. My brain is not working right this second. So it's gonna stick out on top of the purple roof. That's what I'm gonna do gray. I've done a brown roof. I'm gonna do this part gray. And I'm gonna get this brush, just to have a fresh brush. I don't need to paint this, but this top part I do. I did yellow before. I think I still kind of like that idea of the yellow electrical top part. We'll have to look at it. The roof will cover the top part, so I don't have to waste any color there. Now, one thing about these roofs, there is a right roof. So sorry about that, but you'll notice that the grooves on this side are not the same as the grooves on this side. So just, you know, you're gonna only glue it once. Take your time. I actually happened to grab the right one, so that's good. I kind of like that. I don't want anything to really stand out. It's a spooky village. Now the Poison nightclub, I wanted that to stand out because that was funny. Okay. If your brush gets too dry, you can just get it wet and move the stuff around a little bit. Okay. And then while I have these, I'm going to take a smaller brush, like that one. get me a little bit of yellow. I just put like a dot. I mean, literally a dot. If you get the spooky kit, like, don't squeeze out more than a dot at a time because you can't put it back in. Okay? You don't want to waste this stuff. I don't have on my detail glasses. Actually, I don't know why I'm being so perfect, because the roof will cover that spot. Now, I would paint both sides of this electrical part, because depending on where you put the roof or put this piece on the roof, you might see the other side. So once that dries, I'll come back and do the other side. So I'm just doing a quick. Good thing about yellow on this color wood is the wood's kind of got a yellow undertone. Makes it easy. Okay. All right, so those are good. Now, let's do the door and then the windows on the front. So the door and the windows on the front, and the windows on the front have these two pieces that go underneath them. And these are all the same height, if memory serves. Yeah, so it doesn't matter which frame you use for the door. For the door, let's see, what did I do last time? I did crimson, I don't know, crimson looks like. Whatever color I did here. I think I'm gonna do the purple roof color. I think that would be kind of cool on a door. And I'm not going to worry about the open sign. I'm going to do the whole thing in this purple. And then, use that little brush I just got. I'm gonna use that and very easily use this mahogany and just touch the edges of this trim real quick. You could wipe it off if you wanted to, but I'm not gonna worry about that. I think it's fine that way. I need to put another coat of white on the back of the main building before we get too far ahead. You can pause me and go take a break. This is going to be a long video. Okay. All right. Let me grab this and we're going to do white. A couple of coats of white. Get these on there. I have some supplies coming because I want to try something with the Spooky Village. Something that my mom and I did for Christmas one year with a Christmas village. Way back, 40 some years ago. So if all goes well next week, when those supplies come in, I'm gonna do a live. And it may not work. I'm okay with a big old fail, but we'll see how it works. Okay, coat one, and let that dry. All right, so now, you know what, real quick, before we get to this is Frankie. He is in the window. Frankie needs lime green skin, right? So we need just a dot of lime. Frankie needs black hair. I already have gray for his bolt. And then before I did, I think I did, yeah, yellow in the window behind him. I'll do the same because it's a light, right? And let me get him before, and I'm gonna have to get my old lady glasses on because I'm not gonna be able to see that. Okay. So here's my trick. Think about your score lines as like, it is literally a cut in the wood, right? So when I am working with stain, I don't always take the stain right up to that score line right away because the water is going to let it move a little bit. So just kind of put it on, right? And now I can go back and scooch it over just a little bit, right up to the line, without it being too wet, without it going over the line, and without having to use too much. Now, my brush is still yellow. I'm gonna grab the other window from the other window. What is that? Gable. Gable? Gable. Oh, the brain's not working. If you've watched any of my lives lately, I started taking this medicine for my migraines that I was up on such a high dose at one point that I lost my words. They brought me back down. Cut my medicine in half. So the words are coming back, but I just can't remember what that's called. Gable? Window? I think it's a gable. Okay. I'm going to get this little brush in the pack. And I'm going to start with the lime green, and this is why. There's very little green on him. Most of it is his beard and his hair that's black. You're going to do his nose, his little bit of his face, his arm in green. And then there's like a shirt or a body. I might do that in green too, just to be easy. And the rest is black, and black will cover lime green better than the reverse. So if I make any mistakes, I'm always thinking about how am I going to fix it if I mess it up. Also, not too wet. That's nothing but water went down. You want a wet brush, but not a really wet brush in this case. I'm not gonna stress about how dark I'm going right away. I'm just gonna put it on, and then I can go back. And with the black, I did a good wipe off of the brush. I'm gonna go a little bit less wet. I mean, the brush is still a little damp, but it's actually a lot more damp than it originally seemed. But this way I have also a little bit more control. Okay. Do you see? I lost my bristles. It's all right. It's a whole pack. Let's do that again. I couldn't figure out what was happening while I was painting. Okay, that's better. That makes a lot more sense. I'm just using the shape of the brush to get into the points of his hair that I designed. And just kind of going super slow. Everything else is bigger, so I can go a little faster, but all right. And then I even did his shirt black just to make it easy, and then I'm going to give him a little gray bolt on the side of his head. And if you get too much water in your stain and it ends up kind of bubbling up like that, it's okay. Leave it just like this. It will soak into the wood. That is the beauty sometimes of those score marks. Unless it gets too wet, then it can run over. But like that, it'll stay like that as long as I leave it flat. So I'm gonna let it do that. Oh, I have Gray doing the bolts. See this little container of bolts? Let me get these bolts whilst I'm painting bolts. Just do a real quick. All right. And then this, if I remember correctly, is a stair. Yeah, it's the steps on the back. See that? So I'm gonna also paint that with this gray while I've got it. I tend to, you see me do this a lot where I kind of brush a lot. All I'm doing, you know, with your stain, if you leave heavy brush marks, sometimes you can see those when you're done. So I'm just making sure that whatever I end up with, I'm okay with. So like, I can see some brush strokes, but I kind of like that because it's gonna look a little worn. So that's good. I'm gonna, while I'm doing gray, I'm gonna paint the top of this little container. And then I'm gonna grab a couple of these little flasks. That are different shaped and do 2 of them gray. No rhyme or reason. But I just want to have those in different colors. Okay. Well, so then while I'm doing that, I've got yellow out, so I'll do some yellow on some things. That's my dog, if you can hear her. And then I'll do lime green. I still have orange and like red I haven't pulled out yet. These are like little test tubes. So I'm gonna just do the test tube part. Let me, I want to get a little bit of orange. And a little bit of red. So that we can have those colors on these, all of these little bottles. Do one of the test tubes in red, because it should be blood, right? And then maybe do one in orange. I think I'll leave the base of the test tube like natural, so it looks like natural wood. I could color them too. Do this one orange. You could even, if you've got like, if you like to do dotting in these, you could do like little dots. Maybe I'll do, I don't have my dotters, whatever they're called. But you could do little dots like they're little potions and stuff. That would be cute. If you like to decoupage and you've got some little papers that look like potions, you could do baby decoupage on these. Oh, shoot. That would be really baby decoupage. Okay. I'm leaving there's a little, like a line at the top, like a cork. So I'm leaving that the same color as the wood. I'll do this one black, just to mix it up a little bit. And then here's one more. I'll do this one black. I tried to give you a bunch to fill up all the spots. Okay, this is a light that goes in one of the doorways. Oh no, above the brain. So I'm gonna paint that black, and then I'm gonna do the bulb part yellow. Okay, and then other than the pumpkins, that we've got these little tables that go on display in the front. So like this. I think I'm gonna leave those natural. But then I've got this brain. So here's how I'm gonna do that. I'm going to first, since I have to do a second coat of white anyway, I'm gonna do the whole thing minus the base in a very light coat of white. And the concept would be that it looks like glass. And then I'm going to go back, and I'm going very light so I don't get too much in the groove of the score line. And you can see that there is some in the groove, but it's really wet, so it should go down. We'll come back and we'll look at that in a second. But I'll come back and paint the brain on top of the white in just a second too, but let me get my last coat of white on this. Wow, I got my brush wet. You could even come back and like dirty your wall up here if you wanted to. Put some, like if you had some, like not real, but real three-dimensional moss and stuff, that would be really cool. Okay, second coat done. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of mahogany on this base. So it's wood. And then we need to make brain color. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking white and red, pink, right? So I'm gonna take white first, and then just a little smidge. Yeah, there we go. Just a little smidge of red. You can mix this stain. And you get pink. And then I'm just going to be super careful. My brush is a little extra wet. I've done the brain like curvy around the edges. So I'm tapping around that edge because of the shape of my brush. And it's kind of pushing the stain right into that groove. You'll get comfortable with your stain. Or paint, whatever you like. It's a light pink, but I like it. All right, so now, gosh, I want to say all I've got left are some pumpkins. So I'm going to groove through some pumpkins real quick. I'm going to do some gray, some white, some orange. Oops. I think that's it. Maybe add some yellow in there a little bit. So when I like to do pumpkins are never one color, right? So I like to, that is a bright orange. Adding a little mahogany and a little yellow. Because that's hurting my brain a little bit. Oh, actually, you know what? The longer it sat there and soaked in, I have no complaints. So I'm just going to leave that one, and I'm going to use this mixture I just made on this one. So I just literally grabbed a little mahogany, a little orange, a little yellow. I don't even think it's fully mixed on my brush. So see, that's side by side. One's brighter than the other. So that's good. I'm gonna keep using, I might add a little more yellow onto my brush. I'm not really even mixing it on the plate. I'm kind of letting the pumpkin mix it. So it's a little more yellow. And then now I'm gonna add a little white. Okay, I'm gonna add a lot of white. That went a lot whiter than I expected, but that's all right. Now I'm gonna add a little gray. I'm not cleaning my brush. That's what I love about pumpkins. You can just breeze through a bunch. Do a couple of gray pumpkins. Let that orange and brown and whatnot kind of, oh, that's a good, see how that orange kind of popped out? Love that. I'm going to get a little more white again. And then I think I'll do a dab of white and then back into my orange. I mean, that's like speed pumpkins. And then I'm going to leave some of my stems like they are, and I'm going to get a little mahogany on this brush, and I'm going to hit just a couple of them. So the stems are mixed up and not all the same. So we'll kind of do half. And then I just remembered I wanted to do the backs of this. How long have we been on? Right at an hour. So not bad. Not bad at all. We're getting ready to assemble. So I'm doing a little bit of yellow on the backs of those and let that dry real quick. May not see it, but we may. So I don't want to have it stand out. I feel like, and then this stand. So let me do the stand in mahogany. So just run it on. All right. And then a quick wipe off. I was going to put that in my water. Yep. I feel like that's it. Let's assemble. All right, I'm going to move my water back so I don't get that in trouble. My bad brush. Now, I'm going to, I think, do I have an old brush sitting here that I can use? Yes, I'm going to use this nasty. There's a dog outside barking. Okay. I was hoping to not have to stop and start. Okay. So let's go. We're gonna go. Let's hope. Let's hope. Okay. Now, first thing, you got to figure out which roof is your roof. Remember, they're not identical and they're reversed, remember? Okay, so this one is wrong. See that? It's very obvious. This one is right. Okay. All right. I like my Type Bond Quick and Thick. I buy it by the 2 minis. I'm just gonna put it kind of around my edges. And then I'm gonna use this little brush. I don't want it to be, one thing with Type Bond Quick and Thick is if you have this thick line like this, it will slide. So get that smushed out in whatever way you like to smush it out. So you can just kind of let that set. And you have to decide, is this going to be the front? Is this going to be the back? Which side is this? That's totally up to you. My arm just dropped a piece that we're going to figure out we're missing in just a second on my rug that is the same color as the pieces that I just dropped. So okay. Now we're going to do the door. Now the base, here's the thing. You need to make sure your base fits. okay? Which means you cannot glue the door to the bottom or your base won't fit on this design. So you've got to check these things. Most of them don't have stands. Some of them do. I tried to, when I design, my goal is not to make a design that is like the bed and breakfast ghost thing that's like 5 billion pieces every single time. So like on this one, I could have a single centerpiece, and when you have a single centerpiece, I have to have a stand or it's not going to stand up. And of course I don't have a picture. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, on the other one, I did the door like this, right? You could also do the door like that. Let me see, you can't see what I'm doing. So I did it like this the first time, right? But there's flexibility here. So I'm going to show you that you can also play with it and do it like this. Make it like a real step. So I'll do that like that on this one. The only thing when you do this, I'm going to do this standing up facing me for a second. I got to watch my roof. Because when I glued this piece on, we're going to be glued. The base will be on. So I just want to make sure that's in the right spot. And you can look at the back end of this thing for just a second. Oops. And then I need to get the frame. Too much glue, but I can grab it. And I'll turn this around in just a second. Okay, are we centered? I feel like we're centered. See how the step is flat now as opposed to up, which neither is wrong. That's the fun part. As long as it all fits together, you've got so much flexibility with some of these designs. I don't think the roof is falling, so that's good. Okay. So now let's put on our, oh, see, that's what I think I lost. Hang on just a second. This one, oh yeah, there we go. So now we want to put on our little display windows. I wish I could do it up facing you, but I can't. You know what I am going to do? I'm going to put on my Frankie sign. And this is why. It'll give me a visual cue to help me line up my windows a little bit better, I think. Okay. I think there's nothing else. Yeah. Okay. And then, watch. I'm going to use the laboratory as a spacer. Ha. So I've used that laboratory sign as a spacer so that I can try to get these even and perfect. Now, that's not my normal crafting style, but sometimes the OCD kicks in. I don't have OCD. I have the opposite. All right, make it the bottom of the base of this down. There we go. This one down. And these are just your display windows out front. At this point, I've done all my tips and tricks. You're probably bored with me, but we are going to the end. Okay. Take out my lab sign. Look at that. I don't want to hold it up too long. Okay, so now I can put my two little tables, my display tables. I forgot what's on the second one, to be honest with you. Oh, brains and bolts. Brains and bolts. So the bolts, we'll mix it up compared to the other one. So the bolts come and they have the light above them. Where's the light? I have to find the light. I have knocked something off. Oh, I got it. It's got the little display light that goes right in the top. And then the brains goes on the other table. Too funny. Now, you can add pumpkins and things, but I'm going to do pumpkins at the end. I am going to add the window at the top and the roof. So, we got to make sure we got the right roof. Okay, yep. That is pure luck. Because I think when I first did the first ones, I kept having to take the roofs off, so. And I had Frankie coming out, poking out on the front, which I think I like that idea versus the back. All right. Just gonna get that a little bit situated and then put this window so cute. All right, give that just a second. While that's doing that, I'm going to put the roof on the other one. I'll let that finish setting. And we'll let this roof set for a second. All right. That's the good thing about quick and thick. You can move pretty quick. All right, let's get the roof on. Making sure again, when I put it on like that, that I don't have any areas that are too raised, or it's gonna slip and slide. If you find that you do this and like you're careful, and all of a sudden everything's done and you look at your edges and something slid. And you can see because I can look at mine and I can see the plywood there. And I'm not sure exactly how that slid like that. It can happen to the best of us. Then my advice is to take that mahogany stain and just cover it. You'll never see it. I'm gonna let that sit like that. I'm gonna get my laboratory supplies going. All right. Try not to put too much so it seeps out. Oh, hold on. I forgot my sign. Calm down. My sign and a spacer. All right. And then the bottom. And then I'm gonna put this on the top so it has a second to stick while you put all the little pieces in. The window. Okay. All right, so now I'm just gonna put a bunch of these little laboratory supplies on and then the pumpkins. See if I can lift that up so you can see a little bit better. They don't need to be in any order, obviously. You put them anywhere you want. I'm gonna try to mix up the colors and the shapes a little bit. That's all I'm gonna do. So that there's no pattern. Other than that, no logic. Because my pumpkins aren't small enough to go on the shelf. I was going to see if I could put a pumpkin on the shelf, but no. right. Cute. Now the pumpkins. All right, and so the pumpkins, I just kind of layered them. Some of the little ones will go under. And then the big ones obviously will stick out front a little bit. You'll have to glue them to the pumpkin, the little pumpkins, and then to the lap sign. To kind of see where you're going to put it. And maybe on the bottom, you could use that to get some place to glue. And then I'll put a couple on the front. Let's see if this on the back that I just put there just fell off. Let's see. Put these on the front. See if I can slide that one in there. Yes. I have one left over. Oh, I'm gonna slide it right in there. Cuteness. Oh my goodness. That is the longest video ever, but look. I love it. And colors, I mean, same family, but totally different, right? So it gives you a couple of ideas on how your palettes could look. Love it. I hope you love these. These have been the most fun to make, design. They made me giggle the whole time I just knocked the pumpkin off. You get a little slab of glue there. Put that on a more stable spot. Oh, tip. Paint your, back to your pumpkins. Yeah, do that. I'll go back and do that. Have fun. Have fun with them. Look, if you water down your stains, you saw, look, I only had one drop of each of these colors. I had a little bit more of these colors, and I had, you know, that's not even a quarter of the white that you'll get. You really could make it last. Just be careful, you know, water it down and make it spread. You can pair it up with some paints that you've got, and you could easily do 2, maybe 3 of them. Your big ghost one, that's a lot. So maybe 2 if you are doing a ghost one. So maybe 3. So it really just depends on how heavy-handed you are. It's a little harder for me to judge how many you're gonna get out of it when I don't know how heavy-handed you are. I happen to be very light-handed with mine. So just practice, go very light-handed, and enjoy. I hope you love them, and I hope you have an amazing Halloween with them. Think about getting like orange lights, wrapping around them. That's what's coming, and you'll see what I'm gonna do with mine soon. All right, have an amazing time with them, and if you ever have any questions, just message me. Take care. Love you guys.